I have a special guest, but I have to like preface with, you guys know that I'm all about highlighting moms and women of color who consume cannabis and have businesses in this industry and who are living their lives with this plant. I think it's so important. But, you know, as you guys know, I have a son, and that's helped change my perspective about so many things, but also it's helped me to see it's so important for men, but especially Black men and brown men, to really lean into this plant, to have a well lifestyle and to be close to spirit and to be at peace. And I think it's so important to talk about that because men need this plant too. Like low key more than us, but we're going to get into it. So I decided to have my first like man guest on the show. My first man guest outside of my baby daddy, but like, does he count? I don't think so. So my first man guest on the podcast. I'm so happy to have you, sir. Please introduce yourself. Welcome to Blunt Blowin Mama.
Thank you so much. Hey, what's up, you guys? My name is Broderick Hunter. I'm an actor, model, multi-hyphenate, self-care enthusiast, mental health advocate, and, you know, everything else in between that we talk about is about living and being a purposeful person.
Yes,
I guess, you know.
Yes.
So I'm happy to be here. Mutual.
I'm happy to have you.
Yes, like, honored.
This is like, you know, I feel like it's so important for people, for like Black men to be open about like, hey, I self-care.
Yeah.
Hey, I believe in like my peace, and cannabis is part of my peace, and being able to articulate it that way and not just like, you know, I like to smoke weed, I got to roll up once a day. You know what I'm saying? It's like, but why? Why do you do that?
Yeah. And I think that's identifying with how you do self-care. Self-care is self. So what is it about you that helps you wire and you become more of a self-driven and, again, a purposeful person? So some people that includes weed, some people that includes a walk in a park, some people include shrooms, psychedelics, everywhere else. But that's why I think it's so important to get more in tune with that ether of yourself and your first being of like what it is that created you, getting closer to that in a godly sense so you can know what it is. And for me, obviously, I've implemented my certain practices that have helped me. So I feel like it's always important to be an ally to encourage other people to consume or take advantage of things that they might feel like can get them closer to what that is that they feel like is important to them.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, for sure. So you were telling me, and you showed me like you like to keep crystals in your cannabis. So you had like your stash jar with your weed, which smelled very good, by the way, y'all. And there's a crystal in there. And I was just like, why did I never think of that, first of all? But like, talk about intention. Talk about like putting crystals in your weed. Like, what does that mean for you?
For me, I just feel like the power of crystals and the original aspect of what crystals are for have always been an ether of energy and working with your chakras. You know, crystals have always been implemented into spiritual practice for a very long time. So if you look at crystals and you look at marijuana, it's all plant-based. I mean, not plant-based, but it's source-based, meaning it's coming from the essence of God's creation. So if you keep those things close together and keep all things of God close together, you're consuming more. So anytime I'm putting, I realize that, well, if I put crystals by my plants, if I put crystals in my house and I create this energy grid, what happens when I'm consuming stuff? So I put crystals in my water, I put crystals in my fridge, I keep crystals everywhere as much as I can, just because of the fact that I know it, anything that is of plant is going to consume, just like we consume energy. So bless it, love it. You smoke weed with me, you're smoking nothing but love, nothing but positivity.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like you're always invited to the session.
Yes. I love that. I'm like, first of all, I'm stealing that. I'm about to go to House of Intuition. Go
get some crystals. Put some crystals in your weed, man.
Put some crystals in my weed. Like, it's such a great idea. And so I love like just like you sharing that and being like, yeah, of course. Like, don't you do that? And I'm just like, no, but thanks for.
But now we're gonna have a crystal party.
Yes, like, and I think that that's so dope. So like, talk about, you know, a bit about, we were talking about like therapy and Black men and just you finding therapy at 29 and us just really as young Black people, us finding therapy a little bit later in life because our parents weren't in therapy or it wasn't a conversation in our homes, and
Right.
how we're changing that by, hey, now we're going to therapy, like, and we're talking about for friends and family, and we're getting our parents to go to therapy or our grandparents to go to therapy. And like, I'm normalizing it in my home so that my son won't grow up and say, oh, I never heard about therapy until I was in my 20s or 30s. Like, no, he's hearing about it right now. I'll be like, yeah, I got to go to therapy.
Right.
It's normalized, and that helps to make it accessible, and that helps to heal our community and our bloodlines and our family names and our families and all these things and our communities by normalizing it, just like we're normalizing weed and cannabis, like we're normalizing mental health. So I would love to hear you chat a little bit more about that, because I think that's such an important like piece. And I know that you're doing that with your Cellular Look workshops that you're offering, or your Cellular Look offerings.
A Cellular Look workshop. Yes. Yeah, that's what to answer your question about therapy and stuff like that, you hit a very big word that stuck out to me, and that is normalize. So normalize, what does it mean to normalize? It means to shift the normal. So what somebody identifies as normal before, so normal's like, oh, therapy? Nah, man, that's what da-da-da. Even we can only imagine what was normalized prior to that. So I feel like anything in life right now, it's identifying what can be normalized. Let's normalize love. Let's normalize intelligent conversations. Let's normalize something. Identify what needs to be normalized. So I feel like normalizing a shift of mindset, shift of practice, breaking a system, getting out of certain habits. I think that's what is big on normalizing. And one thing on that I think is important is therapy and talking about what it means to be an actual peaceful Black man, not a happy Black man, but a peaceful Black man.
Ooh, talk about it, because there's definitely, I love Black boy joy. I think that's so important.
What does it mean to be at peace and at happy? You know what I mean? Yes. Happiness can come and go, but I always look at something was to shift right here. Where's my body? Where's my energy? Will that shift with it? Will it match that energy? So rock and water, or the water over the rock, however somebody wishes to choose. Either way, you're going to flow or you're going to stay steady. Both are strong. Yeah. So I identify with always being at peace, no matter what that may look like. Peace can mean I could flow through everything, or peace can mean I can be sit and be still and just understand what's happening is for me and not against me. So I feel like that's found through therapy, and that's found through healing, which we said earlier, in different ways, you can find healing practices that work for your self-care.
Yes. Yeah. And like, I think therapy is such a great outlet, because sometimes there's things that like are going on with me as a Black woman that like whoever I'm in a relationship with, that's not for you. Like that's something I should talk to my therapist about. I shouldn't lay that burden on you.
Absolutely.
Like you didn't come here for that.
Absolutely.
Like you didn't agree to live with me for that. Like, like you didn't agree to be with me. And so there's certain things where it's good to have that outlet, just like exercise and movement is an outlet, like all these different ways. These are outlets to you getting closer to, spirit, God, the universe, source, whoever that is for you, and getting closer to peace.
Yeah. That's the battle.
Yeah.
Peace.
Yeah.
Peace war.
Yeah. And that's what ultimately the war is about. Like people want you to take you out of your energy. They want to take you out of your peace. They want to take you out of your love. And once that happens, they've won,
Yeah, it's the feeding off the loosh. It's that loosh feeding. It's that negative energy feeding that pumps all the negative systems into media culture. You know what I'm saying? That's why we have so much social media that's negative driven. It's that loosh, because that's what drives the system that we're in. This is all driven by money. You know what I mean? It's by money, greed, aspect. Why would I want to conform and live into a societal structure that's literally only feeding off the negativity that I can give it? So I'm only going to choose the route that breaks out of that, where I end up standing on top of that. And my energy becomes so translucent that, you can still feed in and, do all the stuff that's not true to you. But guess what? At the ether of me, everywhere that I go and everywhere that I do, people are knowing that that's a Broderick Hunter and that's love and that's peace.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to stay on top of shit and be like, hey, I'm in some
Okay.
our industry is pretty fucked up,
Mm.
and I'm aware of that, so a lot of the work and stuff that I have to do that I'm in, as an actor and a model, is like, well, that's kind of fleshy, blah blah blah. Well, it's like, yeah, this is what I do. It's not who I am.
Yes.
You might see it's like, oh, camera, blah blah blah, but who I am actually is something a little more intricate. So I think it's more important to get lost in who you are and not exactly the image of what you're doing.
Yes.
At least as a man and as a Black man in this industry, because we're already depicted in a certain way.
Yes. I love that because, I feel like it's so important to know who you are at your core, have like your core characteristics and morals and ethics and code that you operate by, have that peace and love for yourself, so that if you lose that job, if you lose that status, if you lose that title, if you lose your followers, if you lose all of the things that people think should make you, you're still going to be good. You're still going to be at peace. You won't be shaken, because those were just, that like at my core, I know who I am. I know I'm loved. I have so much peace and joy within that can never be stolen from me.
Absolutely.
And I know that those things are not in my life because they weren't meant for me. Something else shall come. And if you keep that energy, which is so hard because people don't want you to keep that energy, but if you keep that energy, you will always be good. You will always be taken care of. You will always be loved. You will always be at peace because you are not looking to outside things to give you.
You just got to like open your arms, just trust fall into that frequency.
Receive it.
Yeah. I look at life as like a little radio dial, back when you didn't have before, iPads and all this technology we have. You had to like find a station, right? That was just like the right dial. You gotta
get that right frequency.
If you go to 99.1, crystal clear. Go just a little bit over, it's 2. So that's how I feel like opportunity works. You have to redial and shift a few frequencies over that. You can't take that RPM that was over there with you over here. Just that little 0.1 won't get you through this next one over here. So I feel like whenever in life, when you see these little shifts of intricate changes, give it just a little bit of attention and say, okay, what is my radio trying to tell me? Where can I be read and received more loud and clear? And I think that's when you truly find that purpose of like, okay, let me start listening more. Let me start seeing a little bit more, because obviously it's a little more clear over here.
And I feel like sometimes we get so caught up in like seeing what we want to see and not seeing what's real, like, and just being like, but it could be, but I hope it.
And I keep praying for the clarity.
Yeah.
Because as humans, as the Bible would say, we are sheep. We are not meant to be led on our own, So therefore, nice. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Fire. Fire.
I'm just like, you're smoking. I want to smoke too.
I respect it.
That's your energy.
Hey, imagine if we all match the energy of love.
Ooh.
But yeah. So back to what I was trying to basically shift over was kind of lost my train of thought.
We were talking about therapy, and then we got on a tangent, but I wanted to also talk about Cellular Look.
Yes.
And integrating therapy into that as well, which I think is unique, because you were saying that, of course, in this industry, you're going to need therapy. And I'm like, yeah, actually, you're right.
Yeah. So my workshop, Cellular Look, it's an intro guide for aspiring talent, models, and people or creatives who are trying to find a way to get into this industry of being in the advertising business. Like, you want to get in magazines, be in billboards, do modeling stuff. Here's what you have to do. And then there's also social media aspects. So I made this guide that teaches people just basically how to go amongst getting in this industry. Because one thing that frustrated me when I first started was I had no guidance, and I was just shooting blanks everywhere, trying to figure it out. But God brought me into a space where, hey, now you're one of the biggest and best to ever do it. What are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with the knowledge? So I created the workshop to aid people who are trying to find the business. But it's an info guide, but it's also growing more into a community to where not only are people getting the access and information of becoming a artist or a working model actor, but you're also getting the proper information that's for yourself. So that's why I'm implementing a therapy outlet in there where you can have direct access to get in contact with therapists for availability, because this industry really messed me up and I had to suppress a lot. I didn't know I was suppressing a lot until 10 years out when I said, you know what? I've done what I needed to do. I'm going to sit. And when I journaled, I was like, wow, B, you went through a lot of stuff. Sheesh, man. Have we talked about this? Have we gone over that? No? Did we did we heal from that? And then I started to go into the space where like, wow. I just kept going. And I didn't even really take a chance to look back and just be like, wait, what was that? And see what I learned. So started going back and picking a few flowers, smelling them a little bit. Like, that's one, I could do without that one. I like that. So started healing more. And I realized that even the weeds that were grown were still rooted from flowers from the previous that got me into this beautiful forest that's in front of me where I'm just like, wow, this is amazing. So I had to go back and actually heal, further heal. And that's what then was like, okay, you know what, B, it's time to implement a therapy outlet on Cellular. So that's what I'm working on.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Thank
I
you.
love that because I feel like this is so real, but especially for men, I've heard, like, you're not the first man that I've spoken to who said that, like, yo, I had to, I realized that I went through a lot of stuff and I never processed anything. My aunt died. This happened. I lost this job. I got broken up with this woman or just got cheated on twice and all these things. And I just kept going. I kept going. I didn't give myself time to mourn, to grieve, to process because I had to keep moving. It's like, but when you took that one moment to be still, you realized, oh my gosh, I have so much unprocessed grief, trauma, depression, like I have wins I didn't properly celebrate, those things. And it's like, but it's okay now. Like, we're here now.
We are. We're here and we're alive and we're breathing. And even in that sense, like that's how fucked up the system is. When they place Black men into these wires where, no, you're going to work for all the rest. You're not, what do you mean therapy? You don't have time for therapy. As soon as you get home, your wife got to have a meal on that table. You better make sure that you're getting up for work. And they say, time for your kids? Fuck that. Get up and do it again. Get up and do it again. Blah, blah, blah. Go play sports. You want to get out of this work system? Oh, you got to go be an athlete. Oh, you got to go be a musician. You can't be a doctor. You can't get, like, these are things that in 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s that our generations had to deal with. And for us to even be here, to even have cameras, to even purchase a camera, to have a mic, to have a voice, to even share those things, come from healing and re-normalizing. Saying, hey guys, let's stand up and go against this. No, apply for that job. No, keep staying in there and show them that you're the CEO of that. No, create that hair product. Start that podcast. Take those photos. Post that picture. Feel me?
Yes.
Renormalizing and re-energizing. Yo, you got this. Just like they said, you know what? I'm done. I'm about to go to therapy. One Black man said that, and then the next Black man said that, even though his father didn't say that. It's up to you now to re-say that,
Oh my gosh. Yes, it's up to you now. It's up to you. It's up to us. Like, we are writing our own stories.
Yeah.
Like, we are free. We're so free. We're so free.
What we say? April flow.
Hey.
April flow.
It's free. April flow, baby.
That's my man. It's like free. Like, this is what freedom is, and it's only, freedom is infinite.
doing our ancestors justice and taking the time to take care of our mental health in ways that they weren't even allowed to even think about or know about, like healing ourselves with this ancestral plant that I know that they use as well for their mental health and their suffering and to get through situations and just to stay alive so that we can sit here today. I sit with that plant and I think about that and I pay homage to them and I'm so grateful for them. And it just never, I'm at a space now where I never, like, a day never passes where I don't think about my grandmother who passed away at 90 years old. And she did not know how to drive. She did not know how to read. She did not know how to write. She was born in Mississippi. Her mother was born in Mississippi. Her parents were slaves in Mississippi. So, like, coming from that lineage and just knowing directly that, like, she had all of these dreams probably and could never actualize those things, just being a Black woman in Mississippi who couldn't read, couldn't write because she wasn't allowed to. I remember having to sign her checks and read her mail to her. And, like, but she was still the smartest woman, the sharpest woman, the most respected woman in that town that we lived in Mississippi. But, like, to know that, like, now I exist here in the same time that she existed and that was her life and her reality, it blows my mind sometimes because it's like, because of her, I'm here. Like, because of her, like, I can say that, I went to college. I have a college degree. She had like was it like a 6th grade education or something like that? 4th grade education. So, like, to move things forward generation by generation, it's powerful. And so it's like my generation, we're not just like, it's so heavy being Black because it's like we got to break all the curses. We got to fix everything with we got to fix our parents. We got to fix ourselves. We have kids. We got to we got to do it for the kids. It's like, damn.
Give my goddamn hammer. Hammer that tape, boy.
my mom be like, you going on another vacation? I'm like, I'm going on vacations because I'm tired. I got a lot of healing to do. But I want to talk about, like, psychedelics. I want to talk about cannabis, and, like, you're talking about some intense healing that you've been going through. Like, what you're saying is not stuff that, like, I feel like I hear every day from men in conversation. And I know that, like, to sit and to go through those profound moments that the plant, like, and herbs and probably crystals and prayer, like, what was part of that process and what's your relationship with we see you smoking weed, so we know you and weed are like this, but, like, what's your relationship with psychedelics and with shrooms, or have you tried other psychedelics? Let's just get into it. Come on.
Into the psych. I like psychedelics.
Yeah.
I like psychedelics a lot. I don't do psychedelics a lot though.
Yeah.
I have done psychedelics, and I think that they're it's a calling. Pardon me. I wouldn't. Sorry.
No, you're good. When you smoking, you gotta. Sometimes the weed speaks to you.
Should have got breath for my tea.
Huh.
It's a gift.
Oh.
It's pretty lovely tea. I got you though. So with psychedelics, it's not something that was looking for. It was something that was actually just gifted. He said, "Hey B, I see the direction you're on. And I see where you're going. One day when you're in a good place, in a good mood, just take some of this." I'm like, okay, got you, bro. Trusted him too. Still my bro to this day, right? One night I had a very awakening evening where shift in my anatomy, I guess you could say, had brought me to a place where I knew who I thought I was and where I thought I was at was only true to a degree. I realized I was so much more and God was so much more. So when I realized God is even bigger than what I even thought he would ever be, I can only imagine why he has me here. So my discovery into how I was introduced to psychedelics and what I got from it is different than what I would say is like, hey, I think somebody needs to try this. So I would say if anybody is interested or looking for a psychedelic experience, I would say invite the calling of it to be introduced to you in a way when you're ready for it. Because I don't think if I would have gotten introduced to it back then, I might not have received the same message, because I had already then gone through a very big process of healing and understanding myself to then where now I'm like, oh, this makes much sense.
Right. I definitely agree with, like, you have to be called for it. You have to be ready to receive. Like, psychedelics are great for everybody when they are ready for it and not a moment sooner. Like, if you're not ready, then like it's not for you. It's not for you right now.
Yeah.
Like, you have to definitely feel called to it and be ready for it.
But also it's like, that's another thing we're talking about.
Your
like,
energy got to be right too.
Energy, right? But it's like, man, I feel like it's, you know, in the hippie era and stuff like that. These were all things that originally belonged to Black people. The medicines originally belonged to us, natives and everything. We've been on this shit for a minute.
We've been on it. It's been ours.
And I think it's just insane that how, when they discovered it in our communities, because, you know, went to the communities, started playing, saw some things, you know, they found some weed, they found some other things, and they found one specific thing that they just had to study on a little harder. LSD, psychedelics. I'm like, groovy. That's how a lot of the music was made back then. It's like, oh, okay, so now you got rock and roll. Now you got, so it's like, and then you have this movement now. So it's like, I feel like, yeah, it's good that to find it when you're ready, but also I feel like, damn, we've probably had it for longer than we had, and we could have tapped into these frequencies a little sooner.
Way sooner.
Just a little bit sooner. But I'm happy that we're here.
We're here now, and that's all that matters. But there's still so many minds that need to be changed about psychedelics in the Black community. Unfortunately, like, there's so many people who think that like doing magic mushrooms, even, it can emasculate men and like lead to this feminization of Black men, and even just the conversation of the feminization of Black men and emasculation, the Vogue photo with Rihanna leading ASAP and the baby. Like, what? I thought it was beautiful.
I agree. Well, I would say this. A lot of the most spiritual and amazing women that I've met, Black women, all do shrooms, you know, they tap in. And that's sacred energy. So when I look at it, it's like, okay, as a Black man in this world, you're supposed to protect that sacred energy. So that means whatever's going on over there, if it's good, if it's love and it's true, you protect that. So I look at what's in the house. So if shrooms and all that is in that house, and whatever they're receiving for that continues to charge that ether, I'm going to continue to feed that. But I'm also going to want to learn from it too, because you have to be equally yoked. So I feel like whenever you do find women, Black women especially, that are into that, and you find that their energy is love and pure, you should probably digest and invest in it a little bit more, because you might learn a few things. So that's where so even on my journey and my spiritual journey, I owe it a lot to the woman that was in my life, or that is in my life, you know? And that's just, you know, just got to owe it to the women.
Come on.
You know?
You got to owe it to, you had me at like equally yoked. I was like, come on now. Come on.
Yeah. I owe it, you know?
It's true. I think that, like, you know, it's okay to like, to not know about something and to say like, I don't know, but I want to learn, you know, and to say that like, I reject any previous notions that were fed to me about this and narratives, and I want to learn on my own about this, you know, that's okay. Like, this was ours. It was taken from us. It was demonized. It was criminalized. It was villainized. There were wars on drugs. We were locked up for this. We were, you know, we were kicked out of homes. We were pushed out of jobs. Like, we were not allowed to get jobs over this. So like, of course there's going to be side eye.
You stay in the church.
And away from that devilish.
Go back in that choir. Get back on that podium.
This is not, and it's like, but it is.
Oh,
and
man.
the thing is, when you do sit with those medicines, like when you sit with shrooms, when you sit with acid, when you do MDMA or whatever it is you're trying to get into, and you do it with intention and you do it with love, and you're ready to receive or release or whatever it may be in that moment, like,
Yeah.
it is godly, it is beautiful, it is sacred, it is divine. And I wish I would have done it a lot sooner with the intentions that I do it now. Like, I was dabbling with those things when I was in college, but I was fucking 19, 20 years old, not knowing. I'm like, ooh, let's do acid. Oh, let's have some Molly.
Take a little tap.
Let's do a little, just a little. And like not really understanding what I was really messing with. Like,
yeah, it's not abusing it. That's why you gotta, you know, it's like, that's why I feel like it's good to like get, because sometimes, you know, those journeys can be great.
Those journeys
you
can be
know,
great.
You want to like, I want to live here forever, but you don't want to.
The
like,
mind has to be ready for it.
Yeah, like, you know, let that do its job. And one thing that I realized, that the spiritual and the present are in alignment. Whatever I'm feeling down here is going on up there.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's fucked up there, it's gonna be fucked up down here, and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
So we both got to be right. And I feel like shrooms and psychedelics occasionally keep that relationship intact.
Yes.
To where you can continue to vibrate and be at peace and continue to find new little nicks, and that continue to just dial that radio dial a little bit more. You know,
Because sometimes things happen in our environment that we just can't control, and it throws us off, and that's okay. But it's like, these plants are here to help us to get back.
Yes.
And to stay on our path and to stay focused.
Yes.
And that I love. And I love that for you. And I love that for like Black men, and like tapping into that, because I think y'all need that so much. Like, the world is a lot.
Yeah,
you know?
The world can be a little interesting, you know? But that's the thing, like, I had to remove the worldly aspect of like what it is to be an actor, a model, multi-hyphenate. What does it mean just to be yourself? What does it mean to just be? And just fall into all the other stuff. And there's a few people that are great examples of just being, because just do what they do because they do what they do. And that's why I was like, I'd rather do that than having an attachment. Yeah. It's like, you know, so I'm like, whatever comes with Broderick being Broderick, I'm just going to be Broderick on it. So if that's some weed every day, cool. If that's a little mushroom in the garden, great. You know, if that's nothing at all ever again, that's fine too. But overall, I could say that I've had a fruitful journey. Blood is out.
I love that.
A fruitful journey.
Is it dab time?
It is. Well, you know what? Fuck yeah, let's take a dab.
I'm ready. You're probably like, this woman smokes so much weed.
You don't smoke enough weed.
Yeah, I don't smoke enough.
You guys don't smoke enough weed.
People are like, wow, you really are Blunt Blowin Mama. I'm like, yeah.
Yes, ma'am. I'm so with it. And even on this, I just want to commend you as being a Black woman in this space and doing this for the community, for your viewers, for your people. It's really beautiful to see, because it's not something that is quote unquote celebrated. What do you mean this woman up here? I'm like, no, you're not there. You gotta go higher. She's talking about frequency here. She's talking about finding your truth. She's not talking about the act. Cause you know what I say? One of my friends, they always say, yeah, y'all smoke weed, but y'all don't get high. I get you high. That's my tell. So yeah, you can go smoke weed, go smoke. But I get you high.
I get you high.
We get you high up here. We get high.
Yes.
So I like to get high. I don't like to smoke weed. I'm high all day.
Yes. It's just like, I feel like cannabis
I'm saying you love your podcast because you get the people high.
Oh, I do. I'm so high. I'm like, wait.
Or the rapper's like, just commend you.
Thank you.
Yes, love.
Thank you. Look, y'all, I'm high. But I'm also high. But
we high.
We're high. And I appreciate that. And I receive that. And thank you so much, because it means a lot to hear that. And sometimes, like, people are like, well, they assume you know things or whatever, but it's like, it's good to just just be kind and pay it forward, because you never know what your words may mean. So I appreciate you
Of course.
and everything that you're doing, and being on this podcast and sharing your story and talking about this with me, because you don't have to, like,
Which we want to.
that you should want to.
Why would you not? I'm with a black woman smoking weed.
Hey,
what you talking
we're about to take a dab.
Dab time.
Okay.
I haven't taken a dab in a minute.
I got you. So all you got to do, this is unlocked. Cool. Okay. So we got the Puffco Guardian here. So all you have to do is just inhale. So I just turned it on. It's going to flash twice.
So I'm just going to inhale.
Yeah, you're just going to inhale. Just hold it like this.
Okay.
Just so. And hold on, wait. It should be twice. There you go. Now just inhale. Keep it upright. There you go. Take it easy if you want to, or take a big hit, whatever you feeling.
It's fire.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's dab o'clock.
I fucks with it.
Yes, he fucks with it, y'all. It's smooth, right? It's nice and like.
It must be high as a bitch.
Yep. Yep. It's also gonna get you higher than a motherfucker. But
About to get, you gotta get some tacos after this.
I'm with it.
Yeah, man. But overall, I mean, I would just say that
this is nice.
I would just say that the journey's been fruitful.
Yeah,
it's been fruitful, and I'm just really just adamant about falling into my purpose and my life frequency, about just where I'm supposed to be. And even just coming here, it just reminds me that the angels and the guardians are further carrying me to what it is, and what it is to be a black man in this space at this time when we got AI and all this other stuff going on. What does it mean to exist? Weird. What does it mean to exist? Yeah. And how do you choose to exist amongst the masses? So I just feel like I'm trying to do my part and helping people just find a way to exist and enjoy some selfies every once in a while.
Yes. And I just want to thank you so much for being here. Is there anything else that we said we were going to chat about? I'm trying to think. I feel like we chatting. I mean, like, we were really like having some, I'm like leaning here and the elbow things down here. We were really having some really good convo. So you guys, we were seshing before we came in here and just vibing and just waking and baking and like.
Well, I did like how you were talking about your son.
Yeah, we were talking about my son, and I was saying that, and I've said this before, and I'll keep saying this because, like, I feel like I'm not the only woman who have made men like the villain in their story, and it's just been like, my dad wasn't there, and I've had this terrible boyfriend who cheated on me, and this boy was mean to me in elementary school and pulled my hair, and like, so it's like you have this like this I want to say almost like a body count, but not in a bad way, but you have this body count of men in your life who've all been terrible. And so if that's the only impression that men have left upon you your whole life, you have no choice but to think men are terrible. I hate men. Like, I hate men. And I really hated men.
I'm high as a bitch. Put these.
Yeah, go ahead. I really hated men, but like, here I was with a son. And as he got older, I realized like, yo, you can't hate men and raise a son. He's going to grow up to be a man. Get right, sis. And just like doing shrooms and smoking weed and just sitting with that and like praying and just like really trying to get right and figure out like and running and like going on runs and just like releasing all of that energy and just like still smoking weed at night and like meditating and sitting with that and just trying to figure out like, God, like what's going on? Like, help me figure out like, what do I need to do? Like, how can I fix myself so that I can be better, because it's not men. It can't be it can't be in every instance like men. It's me. What am I doing? Why am I attracting this energy? One, and two, forgive your father for being a man and like maybe not being ready to be a father. Now that you're a mom, you get it. I get it.
It's a lot of forgiveness.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so deep. That's a lot of deep work, because I was having this conversation not too long ago about healing and forgiveness goes much further than saying, "Hey, I'm over this," or "I'm past it." Like not only look at it from your perspective, but also jump into it from another conscious and think about it from them in that point. Did they have the best intentions with you is the question that I ask. So even when I looked at my father for certain things when I was in my basketball, it was like his intention was never to make me feel or disharm me. His intention was to drive me. And that's what you have to be thankful for sometimes. So I agree with you in terms of like, dang, like, let me not be mad, because there's a few times with women in my life where I was like, you know, let me just do some fuck nigga shit, because I've been on the other side plenty of times.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean,
but I'm like,
we get hurt people.
Yeah, so it's like, when do you get to the point where it's like, you know what? Fuck both sides. I'm just going to go with where the peace is on my head. Just
yes.
It's like, so I love that.
It's important because it's like realizing that like men are just human. Like they're just people, and I have to have so much more accountability in my story. You know, like I can't just always be the victim and say that like, oh, well, he did this because, but it's like, what did you do? Like, what was your part in that? And just, there's so much accountability that had to be had for me, and realizing that I had some toxic traits myself. And in order to really raise my son, I had to address that toxicity within myself and resolve it immediately. Like immediately, because there's so much more at stake now than just the way I treat other men I come in contact with in the world, but like also how I am going to be leaving an impression on my son that will be lasting him for the rest of his life, you know? And I want that to be a good one. I want to make sure that he's seeing me speak positively about men. I want to make sure that he's seeing me love on men and have good relationships with men, and see me have good just friendships with men, and be nothing but a friendship, so he can understand that this can exist. But like we were saying earlier, you can't believe what you've never seen. Like if you don't have a reference point for something, you're like, can that really exist? Can I really do that? Can that really be possible in a relationship, in my home, in my life?
And that's when you make the decision to make your own reality.
Period.
That's when you make it like, you know what? You realize you have the power to mold this life, like you say, as a clay, but in the frequency of what is true, because you're only gonna fall into what's truth for you.
Yes.
There's a song that Kid Cudi has that says, "Living my truth. This life goes on and on, yeah. Living my truth is all I know." And I'm like, yo, it's just like, it's the president's gonna keep going. So it's like, live into your truth. So ask God, and ask, you know, whoever, however you identify, just like, yo, put me into the frequency where I can fold and mold and make true in this clay of what is with me and for me. Because
use me
because guess what? It's gonna use you with what you love. If it's what you love to do, it'll use you. There's this crazy story real quick about this, not story, but it's on Facebook years ago. And I saw this article about this woman who makes $300,000 a year making cat sweaters.
What?
So what she did was she made a cat sweater for a sweater for a cat, put it online, and then it's like, oh, can you make a sweater for my cat? Da-da-da. So then ends up getting shared, bouncing back. So then next thing you know, she's plummeted, and I'm not plummeted. I'm just engulfed in orders of people who want shit for their cats. And she makes a business off making catwear. And she's known as that. She's just known as that. But guess what? Doing what she loves, because like, yo, she's knitting cat sweaters, just making cat sweaters.
Nice.
So I'm like, And then it was like, what you do, just the frequency will find a way for you to do what you love. If it's turning up, it'll find a way to make you have a turn. If it's smoking cannabis, it'll make it a way.
It'll find a way.
It'll find a way.
It literally, people ask me all the time about like starting Blunt Blowin Mama and everything. And I'll just say like, listen, I got laid off from a job. And instead of seeing that as a moment of downfall, a moment of a huge loss, like, yes, I did grieve that, you know, don't get me wrong. And I was upset. I have feelings. Things happen. Okay.
We are human.
You know, I am but a flesh and bone, you know, so that happened. But after that, I gathered myself. I sat with weed. I had many smoke sessions. I smoked a whole lot of weed. And out of that came Blunt Blowin Mama. Out of all of that weed came Blunt Blowin Mama. Like, I realized that, like, I want to do this. Like, I was like, I smoke so much weed. I should get paid to do this.
Yeah.
I smoke so much weed and I'd be talking shit and just talking and wanting to have conversations. Bro. I should put a camera on. Bro. I should record a podcast.
Listen.
Boom. And that was a high thought that just became reality. I said, what if, imagine being able to put Black women out there smoking weed and being highly successful at the same time and having 2 kids and smoking weed while pregnant with one of those kids and breastfeeding him. And guess what? He is a genius. He is very smart, highly developed. He can write his name. He's working on that. He can spell his first name and his last name. He is 4. Okay. So like,
that's beautiful.
And they tell me all the time, I'm the greatest parent ever.
You are.
And that nothing else in the world brings me more pleasure and joy than hearing those words, because the kids never lie.
Kids never lie. Kids one thing kids gonna do, they're gonna tell you the truth.
They gonna give it to you.
They say, you ugly. Well, guess what? We had the verdict. The jury has spoken. You murdered them. Get in the fight.
If you want to know how your outfit looks,
bring the kids to the jury.
Bring the kids in.
I don't like his vibe.
Get him out of here.
Get him out of here. I love how you said about just like, you know, just do what you love. Yeah. I love it. It's a similar story. Like, I'm cutting hair. I loved barbering when I was in my teens and stuff like that. And eventually when I got to Miami, I didn't have money for a job and stuff. Like, you know, so I learned how to cut my own hair. So then eventually then I started a whole YouTube channel where I'm cutting my hair, and then I gather this whole community of other guys like, yo, bro, I'm trying to cut my hair too. What? So now that's how my self-care community started. So hair cutting led into skincare, and but it goes to show when you have those times where you're in the adversity, it's like, why am I being prepared? Or why is this happening? It's like, you are being prepared for something that's much bigger than your situation. I was working as a janitor while I was in my modeling years and stuff, catering and stuff like that. And I was like, why the fuck am I in this position where I'm in a damn magazine? And I was like, I'm humbling you to know that even when you're at the tops of the tops, you still have to have people see you where you are. Because I'm like, I'm a model out here just passing trade and stuff like that. But guess what? I know I see you, but they don't see that. But they're going to see it later. But you have to continue to see other people how you see. So now anytime I'm going to events, I always shake the caterers and stuff's hand, because I see that, damn, they're probably trying to come on this side. Let me acknowledge them and send that love back to them. So then that becomes a vortex.
Yes.
When they become that. So that's how we change our
reality.
Kindness
and love.
Just that touching. So you're touching an audience of other women who might be in a position where they feel like, dang, maybe I'm being a bad example to my child. Am I implementing drugs into my home? Because you don't know the community that they're around. But then they see that it's like, no, the frequency's over here.
Yep.
The frequency's over here, man. Yeah, come on over. Welcome. Okay, you need a blunt?
We have a welcome blunt on Paul.
Don't even trip. Rod, roll a fat one.
And that's that's just all that women need, is like support.
Listen, women, Black women especially, are the first and only source of God's love on this earth. And we have to enlighten and cherish that.
Yes.
So if that is blunts, guess what? Get the guava leaves.
Go get it.
Go get the tree. And niggas, get your hands up. We gonna roll some fucking blunts.
We're gonna get some rose petals up in here. Y'all better start.
Make sure
make
sure the black women stay happy.
Yes,
that's the thing. I promised my mom, as long as she's here, I'm gonna make sure she stays happy. Give her all the gifts. Take all the shit. You know what I mean? So
yes, Mother's Day's coming up. You know what I'm saying?
You know, but protect God's ether. You guys are God's ether. I love it, man.
I love that.
So
we appreciate you.
Appreciate
y'all.
Thank
you so much for saying that, because I feel like I can't get enough of black men saying that. Like when black men say that, I feel like, yes, come on, talk about it.
We should be about it too.
Yeah,
though.
And be about it
like,
as well.
Don't just like, a message for the men out there. Don't just like women. You gotta love them. Actually love women. Don't treat them. Don't treat your girl bad out here. Don't be out here disrespecting chicks if you got a chick at home. That you wouldn't want another dude disrespecting your chick out here like that. So don't do that to another man's. It's vice versa. So you gotta actually love women. Love what you're leaving behind. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That energy that you're interacting with, you're leaving that stuff behind. So I'm very mindful about the interactions that go outside of just existing as a man. You got to know that women, and black women specifically, need to be treated a specific way that doesn't require any hatred,
Mm-hmm. It's got to be so much tenderness and love. Like, I recently learned that a lot of times for black women, anxiety will show up through like yelling and nagging and like being kind of like overbearing, or even like anger, but it's just anxiety. But that's how it shows up for us. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of people will be like, black women are always nagging and angry, but it's like, no, black women are always anxious. That's what it is. Like, we go into a room and nobody there looks like us. That's anxiety.
Whole coding changes in your head where you gotta fix how you walk, make your hair. Do I look like this? You know what I'm saying? Because you're in an environment that's not shifted for you.
My voice, be a lot more like femme, like make sure that I'm like docile enough, but also be firm in my handshake. And like, so there's so much that you have to do.
I can imagine.
As a woman, because like, even white women experience this. It's just like, we can't be too emotional, or it's like, oh, there it is. I knew you were a woman, or like, but as a black woman, we can't get too angry, even with the white girls, because they'll be like, she was just so aggressive. I'm not racist. And it's like, girl,
it's a lot. It's a lot, bro.
We're balancing a lot. We're walking on a lot of eggshells in the world.
When we get home, I see it happen.
We want to be safe,
Yeah, but that's also why, as men, we have to do the job as well.
Yeah.
To be to advocate for those things. If you see something, are you gonna step in or just watch? You don't pull out your phone. You know what I'm saying?
I got you, sis.
It's like, yo, bro, I got, if you need this, I got. It's like, bro, you could have said something. But we're, as we go back to the normalizing.
We're getting there.
Normalize.
We're getting there.
Normalize.
Yes, we're getting there. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, this has been an amazing conversation. I feel like we could just keep on chatting forever.
We could chat forever.
We really could. I mean, I feel like we smoked literally all the things.
I was like, I couldn't bring the tree.
We just brought a whole plant down on this table because the way we've just went through.
The way we just been rolling.
Everything.
That dab got me good.
That dab got me, and I'm like, actually, is there any? No, there's nothing left.
Is there anything?
I tried to cap it so that we wouldn't OD and go too hard in here, because I have a tendency to like. I mean, like, it's my day off. I'm chilling. I do have like a meeting, but like, I could still be like kind of.
Whenever not busy, actually,
Yeah,
it's always like technically the lifestyle becomes busy because every day is gonna be something wired towards
every day.
What you're doing,
You're doing something every day. You wake up, there's a thing. You got to do a thing.
Exactly, bro. It's like I'm like I turned the clippers on this morning. It's like, zoop, gotta do a podcast. Well, let me just record that real quick. I'm gonna post that later.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, well, eventually the system runs itself.
It runs itself, and everything is everything. Lauryn Hill got it right.
Mm-hmm.
That's a smoker's pause, you guys. In case you're wondering. All right. Well, let the people know what's next, how they can reach you, if they have questions or anything like that. Like, what's happening?
Man. Well, I'm on Instagram
Okay.
at Broderick Hunter. I'm on TikTok as well. Twitter, Broderick Hunter. My workshop, cellularlook.com. That's my masterclass for anyone who's trying to discover how to become a model or become social media personality or anything like that. It's really just about the proper way, see your representation, find yourself, and learn a few other things on the platform as well. So that's something that's been going really well and getting great feedback. And I'm working on volume 2 for that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I have more movies and TV shows coming out too. So the acting stuff is coming back and campaigns. Yeah, everything is really just moving well. But honestly, I'm just enjoying just being present, just being here.
I know that's
existing,
right.
you
I
know?
know that's right.
So
Awesome.
I look forward to seeing you all out. If you guys, if you guys see me out, just say, "Hey, I saw you on Blunt Blowin Mama." Give me a hug or pass a blunt. Do something with it if you see me on this.
Spread love. Spread the weed kind of love. That's the best kind of love. I like very rarely say like, no, I'm not gonna, I'm good. I'm like, I always want to hit people's weeds. I just like to know what they smoking on. I just like to like, what's your vibe? Like when you smoke, what's that like?
You gotta have a sesh.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? You gotta sit down at the sesh.
You gotta sit. You got to get into the combo. So thank you for sitting and having this amazing combo.
Thank you for the
with
dab.
Me. Hey, listen, I'm always
dab.
Always hit you with the dab.
Thank you. Tell them to send one of those my way. Shit.
Hey, I got you. I'll put you in touch with people.
Oh, I'll be loved.
Yes.
I'll be loved. Definitely got my support.
All right. Thank you guys for joining this episode of Blunt Blowin Mama. I'm like smoking the weed. I'm like, oh yeah, we are doing a podcast here. You guys, thank you so much for joining this episode of Blunt Blowin Mama podcast. Thank you so much, Rod, for coming through and sharing your perspective. You know what? I might have a few more men folk on the podcast now because you aren't so terrible.
I wouldn't have that. We hopefully brought some good. It was the crystals, you know?
It was definitely the crystals.
Little crystal outside set the good intention.
Yes, set the good intention. So, yes, thank you so much. All right.
Peace.
Yes.